does.
Awesome. All right, everyone. Welcome to Freedom to Flourish, week 1 of February. In case you missed it, I'm going to put the link in the notes so that you could do the workshop that we did last week and get a whole overview of what the Freedom to Flourish platform is. But basically, it's a system that I created for myself that I stick to for myself to eliminate overwhelm and really help me to focus on what it is I want to be working on in my business. So every month we start over. There's 4 pillars to this system, and every week we do a coaching call in working on helping agents through each one of those pillars. So I am going to share my screen. Let me do that, and then I could kind of give you a visual and go over that. Oh, look, I'm in my own plan working on that. I was doing that while I was waiting for everyone. So,
Sorry,
and
guys.
no, you are
And
totally fine.
I had 3 people RSVP and they didn't, and they're not here, but that's okay.
That's okay. No worries. You know what? I'm recording it, so
Ah, perfect.
people can go back and watch the
I was about
recording
to
on
go
my.
text them and ask them if they wanted to jump on. All right,
I do
perfect.
not worry about it. Like, you know what? It's meant whoever's here and is meant to hear it, hears it. And if not, they
Okay.
could watch the recording. I was telling Angela, I'm really upset right now because I've been using Go High Level and I've spent a lot of money over the past years getting all my landing pages and everything in it. And it's just the most awful system ever that I've ever seen. And so I'm moving my landing pages and all my people over to MailChimp because I
Oh,
couldn't even send
yes.
out a recording today. So as soon as I get that all moved over, I'll be able to send out reminders again. But for right
Okay.
now, this is
You
where
got
we are.
this.
Yeah.
You're gonna
I,
love MailChimp once you're over.
I'm so excited. I just need time to go learn it. My VAs are learning it and they're like, "Oh, this is what you do." I'm like, "Okay, well, I'll get in there over the weekend." But so like I worked all weekend last weekend and I'm just exhausted. I'm like, I need some time to
I
not.
talked to Jay last night, and honestly, y'all, I've never heard Jay sound tired.
Yeah,
And he was like, Paulina,
yeah.
I've talked more than any person should have talked. And I was like, I know, boo. So I was like, let's get
That's
this.
how I get. My throat gets really
Yeah.
sore, especially after all those calls I did yesterday. I
Yes.
went to bed and I was coughing, and my husband's like, "Are you getting the vid?" And I'm like, "No, I'm hoarse because I've been talking all day long." But that's
Hmm.
okay. I love what I do and I love to
We
talk.
love
So
it.
it's
We
like the
love it. But he
perfect
was like,
business for me.
I couldn't even text you back. I was just like, I'm a caller. I was like, got it.
All
Just trying to
right.
get everything organized for him getting here. So, okay.
Awesome. All right. So what we're going to talk about today is the mindset and getting into the space where you create your business plan. And mindset goes with that part. As I always say, mindset and your daily routine because they go hand in hand. You have to work on your mindset first. If you don't get your mindset right, like the rest of this won't matter and you won't go do it because then we just sink into this pit of despair, like sitting around going, I know what I'm supposed to do, but I just don't do it. So we have to work through some of this stuff. And this is why I love Angela. She's really good at helping us to get through some of these things and figure out what to do. But especially as women, it's so easy for us to get overwhelmed. So that's what we're going to work on today. Then week 2, we always work on foundations. Like I know next week, my goal is to retake all of those lofty classes one more time, and then I will have Lofty down and figured out, and I will be able to really work on more of my strategy in Lofty. Automations like that, it's so important to get these things all figured out so then you can automate them and then delegate them. I have my VAs working on things every single day so that I don't have to, so that I could be free
Mhm.
to have these conversations. And then week 4, we work on funnels. So that's what we work on every single week. So today we're just going to dig right into it. This is a slide that I wrote a lot of this I wrote after hearing Angela talk in her local legend, and
Can you make your screen bigger? I'm sorry.
I, I, I love all of that because it's so true. As women, like
Dawn,
Angela,
Dawn,
yes,
she
yes.
was asking, Bertina's muted, but
Oh,
she was asking if you could put it full screen. Yeah.
There you go.
yes. Is that better? I
Yes.
could even go into present mode also, but is this
This is
better? If
good.
this is
Yes.
okay, okay, great. Okay, so mindset and past trauma. You know, we can wake up every day and just choose to be in this positive place, but it's not real unless you've really kind of worked through some of your issues. Like I always say, you don't know what you don't know. And so, um, where are you in your healing journey? Like what stories are you telling yourself? You really have to kind of become that fly on the wall inside of your mind to figure out what you're even telling yourself throughout the day. Where are you getting stuck? What old stories are you telling yourself? I'm going to have Angela talk about this a little bit because I think that she has a really good way of helping us to figure out where we're at and what those are. But then how do you know, this is the where it really gets deep, is like, what's the work that you need to be doing to heal some of those things, you know, so that you're not telling yourself those same things. For me, it was living in scarcity. I had this scarcity survival mode because, and I learned this through working with Angela on this. I spent my childhood in a space where I was constantly worried about what was going to be taken away from me next. My parents, you know, went through, I like to say trauma after trauma, situation after situation. And I had cars, I saw cars taken, I saw furniture taken, I got taken. I got taken from my mom. That was traumatizing when I had to go live with my dad and then be with him. It was awful. Like
How
all
old were
these
you?
things happen.
Oh my gosh.
I was like 6, and my mom couldn't take care of me, and she called my dad, and my dad came to take care of me and get me into a place that was supposed to be better, but ended up being way worse. And so it was just always that kind of story. My dad was an alcoholic, and um, it was just things I needed to work through. So I have abandonment issues, but now I'm able to recognize those, and I'm able to say, oh, wait, this is my trigger. Like I'm being triggered to these things. But once you recognize it, you're able to move on from it. But so many of us just move through life in a blind spot, like with all these blind spots, we don't even know what's going on. And you have to figure that out. So because you can't live in the past and the future at the same time, right? Like you can't pull those in. So Angela, what would you like to say about this subject?
Yeah, well, I mean, honestly, a lot of the stuff that Dawn's talking about, I mean, I experienced the same thing. I was kidnapped in the middle of the night by my dad when I was
Yeah.
5 years old, and I woke up in his car and didn't know where my mom was. Um, I mean, I've been through a lot of these same things too, and the thing is that when we grow up going through a lot of different types of trauma, and when I say trauma, the word really has been like so explosive, and people tend to not really understand what trauma really is. A lot of times people tend to think of trauma as abuse or like a very detrimental situation in your life. And in reality, trauma can be as simple as somebody saying something to you that sticks with you in a way that it creates a negative story in your head. And then that story stays with you and prevents you from doing things in your life that would benefit you if you were to do them, right? So that's kind of how I look about like around trauma, is that it doesn't have to be this big, huge, horrific thing. A lot of us have been through things like that, but it doesn't have to be that. It can all just be the small little things that a kid on the playground says, or a teacher says, or a parent says unintentionally, right? And it just creates a negative story that then creates this pathway that keeps you stuck, right? And so the thing is that there's a lot of different ways of addressing these things, lots of different ways, and we can talk about these things, but it's really about rewriting the stories that our trauma has created for us. And it's about really listening to ourselves, our bodies, our minds, our feelings when they tell us that something feels wrong, right? Something feels wrong. And I found that for a lot of us, we don't always feel these things until things are going really right. When things start to feel really, really amazing, and we've got stories, we've got trauma back there, we're like, okay, what's bad gonna happen? And then we start walking around like on massive anxiety tiptoe, just constantly afraid that the bottom is gonna fall out, the earth is gonna swallow us whole, and all the bad things are gonna happen. Because we're so used to having things taken away from us, from having things being removed, or whatever it is, right? Just something bad happening. We're waiting for it. And
But it doesn't
being,
have to be. You
it
don't have,
doesn't, no,
like, but it's a lot of work. Like, this is
it is.
where,
It's a lot of
so,
work. Yeah, being in a space of abundance is the way I like to look at it, is it's really being in a space of faith and trust that things are happening for us and not to us,
yes, love it.
and that's really the big thing, because we can go through bad things and then say, okay, well, what did this give me? And even if it's really hard to find it, really hard, and maybe we don't see it yet, maybe eventually we will. I remember back in 2004, I think I was writing a book, a fiction novel, and as I was writing it, it was interesting how the book would just flow. It just completely flowed, and it was like watching a movie in my head and just writing down everything I saw. And I got to this point where I was writing this scene, and I realized it was so representative of an experience that I had had with my dad when I was a little kid. And I thought, oh God, that, like, it was a public humiliation experience. And so I was writing this and I was like, I see it. I can see it, how it's coming out in this fiction experience, right? But then I've also seen how over the years, all the things that I've been through have driven a sense of trust and faith in me, of positivity, and of being able to really identify with other people that then I'm able to help, that I can step in and support people and help people who have been through things similar to me or even different, but still at the same time creating the same type of issues. So I can look at all these experiences that I've been through and thank God, it gave me so much, so much, you know? And so when we start to think about our lives in that space of gratitude, that space of even the bad things, it gave me something I'm grateful for, that it allows us to really start living and experiencing abundance at a whole new level, because it becomes who we are and how we operate in the world. And it's not just a choice in a moment. Well, I'm going to be positive today. It's not like that. It's just how we approach life, so that no matter
Yes.
what happens, we're like, I got it. I'm good. I got this. I'm going to get
It
through this. I'm
the
going to make it.
happening to me versus for me
Mhm.
was about a 1 year. So I started going to, do you mind if I share for a second?
No, go ahead.
Okay, so my best friend is a massage therapist, but I call her my granola best friend. So I'm not allowed to eat anything artificial around her. She'll karate chops it out of my hand. So she's a massage therapist, and we have yoga there, but we have a women's circle once a month. And I went because she's my best friend in the whole wide world. I did not want to go out in public. I did not want to be talking to people. And so we would go around the circle, and everyone would kind of talk about what their intention was and what they're working on. And I'm like, I'm here. I'm here. That's it. The fact that I got here is all the work. This took everything out of me. So for probably the first 6 months, I said that every time we went around the circle. So for a year and a half, and then by the next like 18 months, I had my affirmation of couldn't wait to go to it every month. And then B, I had my abundance, this feeling of abundance that it was coming and that I had to be ready for it. And then so I started mentally preparing myself, and I made my affirmation that I am at peace in my abundance. I wrote it down. And then it's just been like, it's mindset. It has been complete mindset. And so at first I just had to show up, and then now I'm like doing the work. And then,
Absolutely.
yes. Oh, and you said thrive. Who was saying thrive in the meeting the other day?
In which meeting?
Somebody was like, we should be thriving. We should not be just surviving as the
Oh,
agent. So I
yeah,
have that on my tattoo on my chest. Is first I had to survive, then I had to recover, and now I'm thriving.
that's
So
awesome.
that's
Thanks
all.
for
I got.
sharing, Paulina.
Mhm.
So now you've heard some stories, like you've heard all of us share a little bit about the things that we've gone through. And you have to start recognizing how these things are showing up in your life today. And you might not even realize or put it together. Like, you have a fear of being on video. Like for me, I used to have a huge fear of being on video. I used to worry about how I pronounced things because I always have an accent and I'm not super, I just don't always have the best words, but I have something to share. But I had a situation when I first got my real estate license, and I had this really ugly man, ugly meaning like his spirit was ugly, and he put me down. He belittled me when I was doing phone duty and said, "Who taught you how to speak?" And like just completely humiliated me and made me cry. I was on phone duty, and I always did so great on phone duty because I'm about the relationship. I don't care about my grammar. I care about that person. And so, but he really damaged me. So when we had to start being on video and doing all this stuff, I was like, oh my gosh, I do not have what it takes to do that, until I recognized it. And then I was able to make that loop back around to what I have to say is important, and share is important and can really help some people. So it took me a while to figure that all out, but you got to be the fly on your own wall throughout your day. What stories are you telling yourself? So really keep a journal, a checklist, whatever you need to do, but write it down. You find yourself being in lack and saying, oh my gosh, how am I going to pay that bill? Like, do you say that all the time? Like, are you living in that scarcity and survival mode instead of in abundance? And just get out of it quick. So another thing we always want to do is not ever compare ourselves to others. Never ever compare ourselves to others. Always remember that if you're down here on this step and you're looking at somebody up here on stair number 10, they started out here right where you are. So I hate competition. I am not a competitive person when it comes to my business. Now, if you're playing a card game with me, that's a different story. That is where I really shine, as my husband says. But as far as business goes, you know what? There's enough room in this business for all of us in real estate to go out there and create an amazing business. So also we want a time block from our abundance plan. So that's what I want to get into today, is really talking about more about our abundance plan and creating that so that you can spend the next month going through and figuring out what these roadblocks, what are the blocks for you. This is just a screen that are some great ideas for you to really get into that daily positive, abundant mindset. I do these regularly and love them. So I know, we all know this. Paulina's working on her 75 hard, and Angela lives this. Like, we all know what we're supposed to be doing, but are you doing it every day to actually get into it is the question. So we'll move on into foundations next week, but I want to get out of this now and I want to go into this challenge. So this is the blank one. You should all have a copy of this challenge. And this is where you get to create the end goal. This is where you want your business to be. And this is supposed to be a 4-week challenge. You guys are welcome to come back every month and revisit this, but I want to show you week 1 what this looks like. So I'm going to share this. If you don't have one already, just message me or I'll put it in the chat. But week 1, you need to know where you're going. Know what's your why. Like, in order to do the work that needs to be done in this real estate business, we have to get personal. We have to dig deep. We have to know what our end game is. So if you want to do like 24 deals this year and that's your goal, like put that somewhere on this abundance plan. But also we got to tie into some of these the visions of where you want to be. Your why. What is your why? Why do you want, not just because you want to make more money, but why do you want to make the money? Ask yourself these questions and get it down on your plan. What's your vision for your emotions? I put all of this on here because it all matters. You can't be in really bad health and expect your emotions to be intact. They'll be out of whack. If your hormones are out of whack, your emotions are going to be out of whack, and you're not going to want to do the work that we're going to get into over the next 3 weeks to create the successful business. So that's why this is also important. What does wealth mean to you? What do you want that to look like? Your relationships. Are you in a bad relationship? Do you need healing in that relationship? Maybe that needs to go onto your plan, your goal sheet. And your business, where do you want that to be? So these are the real questions, and this is week 1. This is where you start. And I opened up my own abundance plan so that I could share it with you guys here. I was actually working on it earlier. This is a living document, like a budget. You can come back in, and you should open it daily and really look at this, because it'll remind you of why you're going to go do the work that you're going to do. But for me, this is what mine looks like. I have my daily me time. That's what I do. My word for 2024, abundance. I'm reading a book right now. And if this is for any of you, this book, well, I should say I'm listening to a book right now. It's called The Abundance. Where did it go? The Abundance Project by Derek Rydall, Rydall. It is so good. If this living in scarcity and living in this space over here is you need to read this book. It's a great book. But for me, I find that if I focus on living in abundance on a daily basis, I tend to not let those issues from the past sneak in. And so that's my word for the year. Your plan doesn't have all of this on it, but it's your plan. You get to add to it and put whatever you want on it. My why do I want to do this? It's long. My mission, my vision for my emotions, my health, my wealth, my relationships, my business. And then I add my goals on here. These are my 1-year goals for the Loding group. And this is how I'll get there, by creating the foundations, the automations, and the funnels. And I have all of this in here. So next week, we're going to dig into foundations. So I'm not going to go into that right now, but this is just kind of where I take notes, where I do my quiet time and my me time to get that filled out so that I could go back to it daily and then get myself into that space of being able to create the life that I want, instead of pouting and being sad about the life that I don't have. Like, you have the power to create your life. So don't let your circumstances define you. And that abundance book will be a huge eye opener if what I'm saying is foreign for you. Hopefully it's not, and you all have done enough of the work already And now we just need to get busy on the business part. But that comes after all of this. So I'm going to share my goal sheet with you guys. I don't want to share this to overwhelm you, but I love the book The 12-Week Year, and my new 12 weeks is starting right now, like February. I don't do anything in January. I take time off every year to really figure out what my next 12-week year is going to be. But
That blows my mind. That's been on my feed, Dawn, every day.
really,
So
the 12-week
yes,
year
and I was
book?
like, who are these insane people that are doing a 12-week?
Well,
It's
you're doing
possible.
Get into that.
a
Do
so
you do the coaching for it?
I don't.
Oh.
You mean, do I
I've,
use the coaching that they do?
I've started
Well, who
listening to the
coaches
12
you?
week.
Oh, sorry, Corey, go ahead.
I started listening to the 12-week plan, and then the Chamber of Commerce was going to do a training on it. They were going to have someone come in, but that wound up falling through.
Yeah, I have read the book, The 12-Week Year, time after time. Like I implement it every year, and I usually
Okay.
open it again like in January-ish. So it's a phenomenal book, but it could be overwhelming, and it could take you. I just want to say, like, don't overdo it. Set 3 small goals. So I have this spreadsheet that I do, and I have the goal, the systems, the automation. So these are my goals for the Loding group. Have a weekly blog post to share with my audience about what it's like to live in New Braunfels. And this all ties into everything that Angela and I teach. So daily in Lofty to connect to potential clients. And then I have my VIP yearly action plan. So these are the systems that I need to use. So the systems are the foundations. Like those are, I'm a systems person. I have to have a system for everything. So that's what I'm doing. And then all of that to automate my weekly plan using Reels. And so that's, it could just be some tiny small things, but then you've got to take your goals and you got to go over here and you got to measure them every day. So what are the goals that you want to do? So for me, open my attraction challenge sheet and I send 5 messages per day. I did that yesterday. I haven't done it yet today. And really, it's just a small thing. It's my 20%. I'm not going to keep track of my whole 100%. I'm going to keep track of the top 20% of the things I need to do to reach my goals. And the most you can simplify this, the more likely you are to actually do the things and then just measure it. So, but you got to kind of figure out what all of that is first, right? And so that's why I want to help you get into this first. So by the end of this 4 weeks, you guys can start your own 12-week year and know what you want to implement into your business. But measuring, for a lot of people, measuring is the key part. If I don't do this, I'll just kind of forget all about it and forget about my goals. So I try to open this sheet weekly. I have so many hidden ones in here. You'll see I've done this for years. Well, in this sheet I
Corey's
have.
asking if you'll share this.
Sure. I have a blank one I'll share with you. Yes, Corey, I will share with you. So I'm not going to share this one because it's got all of my stuff. And since I get in here and I open it every day, I also go down here and I have like, I just started this new one. So this is all new. So you notice that of my 12-week goal, these are my goals, only a few. These are the systems, but this is the main goal. I broke it down. I used to just kind of brain dump here, but I'm like, I got to get out of this brain dump. I just need a couple of simple goals. And then what are the foundational pieces, the systems that are going to help me accomplish them? And what can I automate so that this all happens automatically? So I will be happy to work with you guys on this. I've even thought of doing like a kind of a call just for agents to help them do this, but that hasn't really come to be yet. But you'll see I have like, here's my area leader tab. Here's my VIP master plan tab. Here's my content calendar. So these are the tools that I use. And then I have a guest speakers tab. So I have all of these things that are part of what I need to do. But the magic happens in this first tab right here, go take the action. This is me tracking the action I need to go take and then measuring it. And then
This reminds me a little bit, because since we're past KWs, it reminds me of the 411 in a
yeah,
sense.
it is kind of. It is.
And I introduced the 411 to my agents. They didn't like the whole, like, if it doesn't happen this week, it goes to the next week. I was like, yeah, that's how it works. So it'll pile up.
So really that's it, you guys. Like, I mean, it's about figuring out your vision of where you want to be, and then breaking it down into the goals that you need to go do, and having the right mindset to go make it all happen. So next week we're going to get into using Lofty. Angela, when we get into the funnels, like Angela's local legend is huge for helping you to figure out who are your people, who's your tribe, who are you going to get out in front of, and it all just comes together. But it takes time. You're not going to walk away from this today and have this all figured out. It takes a while, but it's a great system, and if you use it, it'll help you to figure out what your goals are and how to implement them and what needs to be done, rather than just waking up daily and going, I'm a realtor, probably should do some lead generation. Like, that's the heart. Like, what's that going to be? You have to have, I have to have a system I have to have a system for my systems. So, but that's mindset. It's getting into the right mindset. And when you tie your mindset to your vision and you live over in that space, in the potentiality of your life, you're able to create a lot more. So, that's all I got to share today, you guys. I'm going to stop recording.